Yesterday, our wonderful Congress had a committee hearing on anti-censorship.
Good. That is good.
What was the first thing they did?
Don't say it, don't say it.
They censored, yes, they did. What? Who? Rfk Jr. for supposed anti-Jewish rhetoric.
What the fuck?
An anti-censorship committee hearing committing censorship.
You're a fucking idiot.
And you wonder why Congress is loved so much. I'm Jazz Berganzo, and this is What's Next. What's up, everyone? Jazz Berganzo. What's Next? Your daily dose of common sense, facts, and salt. Hope you guys are doing well on this Friday as we go into the weekend. Congress and censorship. Wonderful bedfellows. Been sleeping with each other for years. So what happens when you have a committee on anti-censorship? First thing they do, they attempt to censor. Wow. It's a comedy of errors. We will mock them. And here we go. This comes out of PJ Media. Clueless. Censorship hearings start with Democrats trying to censor Rfk Jr., who, by the way, is running for president. What if you held a hearing on committee censorship, but no one could speak because they've been censored? Humorless and clueless Democrats tried this stunt during a committee meeting on Capitol Hill yesterday, and it would have succeeded had the Repubs not stepped in. The Select Subcommittee on the Representation of Federal Government, try saying that 3 times, hearing on government censorship suffered this inauspicious beginning when congressional Democrats and an outside group called for the censorship of one of their witnesses, Rfk Jr., Robert F. Kennedy. PJ Media colleague Ben Barty reported that it began when Democrats sent a letter to committee demanding that Kennedy be silenced at a hearing on censorship. The letter was penned by a far-left organization called Congressional Integrity Project. Congressional Integrity. Wow, an oxymoron. A group that targets Republicans and is staffed by as many former Obama officials and financed by leftist foundation Arabella advisors. So you know it's honest. Committee Democrats led by Vice Chair Stacey Plaskett, a non-voting representative from the U.S. Virgin Islands. She's a representative who has no voting power. Sure. And represented the party of Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat out of Washington. And the rest of the Jew-hating squad accused Democrat presidential candidate of anti-Semitism. Kennedy was knocked for comments he made about COVID-19 and its effect on Jewish and black people. And we'll show that clip in a bit. Quote, there's an argument that the ethically targeted COOF attacks certainly race disproportionately, Kennedy said. Now, this was just context. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Jews and the Chinese. We don't know whether this was deliberate targeted but there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential and impact, Kennedy hedged. Quote, there are studies showing that the virus affected ethnicities differently, but Democrats decide this was a racist statement. Kennedy was outraged at the letter, an attempt to censor him even before the hearing began. The moment he started talking, Democrats went into censorship mode by making motion to censor Kennedy, points of order, accusations, and finally a vote to table by one Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Yes, if you know of her, she's a woman who couldn't land a man if he fell on her. Motion to cancel Kennedy's testimony and degradation and put it behind closed doors so the poor American people would not be subject to words spoken by Joe Dementia's primary opponent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to raise a point of order.
Young lady, say a point of order.
Point of order pursuant to House Rule 11, Clause 2.
This was just after his introduction.
Kennedy is violative of. I move that we remove into executive session because Mr. Kennedy has repeatedly made despicable anti-Semitic and anti-Asian comments as recently as last week. Rule 11, Clause 2 says, whenever it is asserted by a member of the committee that the evidence or testimony at a hearing may tend to defame, degrade, or incriminate any person, or it is asserted by a witness that the evidence or testimony that the witness would give at a hearing may tend to defame, degrade, or incriminate the witness, and it goes on. Mr. Kennedy, among many other things, has said I know a lot now about bioweapons. We put out hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes. The Chinese have done the same thing. In fact, COVID-19, there is an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19
Wow, the
attacks
Chinese
certain
did create the
races
coup after all.
disproportionately. The races that are most immune to COVID-19 are...
A lady making a motion or a speech?
I've made
Boom.
a motion to move into executive session because Mr. Kennedy's
Basically telling her to shut up.
To table the motion. The gentleman from Kentucky has moved to table.
Mr. Chairman, I ask for a roll call vote on the motion.
Absolutely
Let me
not.
ask the question is on the motion to table. The gentlelady has asked for a roll call vote. The clerk will have to step back for a second. The clerk will have to come in. We'll call the roll on the motion to table, and then we can get back to testimony.
All right, let's stop this nonsense. And of course, Republicans basically told Wasserman Schultz to go herself. In an attempt to censor a censorship hearing, left Americans of all stripes sputtering with contempt, especially Representative Thomas Massie, who characterized the censorship attempt as cognitive dissidence at its finest.
Expired. Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from North Dakota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to Representative Massey.
I thank the gentleman from North Dakota. Wow. The irony and cognitive dissonance from the other side of the aisle. It's deafening. You could cut it with a knife.
Nice.
They are at the same time denying that censorship is occurring, but suggesting that there's more material that needs to be censored.
Boom. Let's keep it moving. Kennedy held up the letter which claimed he had repeatedly and recently spread vile and dangerous anti-Semitic and anti-Asian conspiracy theories that tarnished his credibility as a witness and must not be legitimized. In my entire life, and while I'm under oath, in my entire life, I've never uttered a phrase that is either racist or anti-Semitic. I spent my entire life fighting for my professional career, fighting for Israel. And being censored here through targets, through smears, through misinterpretations of what I said, through lies, through association, which is a tactic we all well know and was thought out and discredited my dispensed and with after the Army McCarthy hearings in 1950s. But those same weapons are now being deployed against me, to silence me. I know many other people who wrote this letter. I don't believe there is a single person who signed this letter, who believes I am anti-Semitic. I do not believe that. There is no evidence. Former Congressman Dennis Kucinich, who is Kennedy's campaign manager. Dennis Kucinich. Remember him? I think he ran for president one year. I don't know. Who cares? Sat behind Kennedy. The irony of the Democrats trying to censor a witness and fellow Democrat to a committee hearing on government censorship is all the evidence you need to show how true a problem is. It's utterly stunning.
We need to talk about bioweapons. I know a lot now about bioweapons because I've been doing a book on it for the past 2.5 years, and you know, the technology that we now have to develop these microbes, we've put hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes. The Chinese have done the same thing. In fact, COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacks certain races disproportionately. The races that are most immune to COVID-19 are because of the structure of the genetic structure, genetic differentials among different races of the receptors of the ACE2 receptor. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. But we don't know whether it was deliberately targeted that or not. But there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential and impact to that. We do know that the Chinese are spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing
Keyword studies, papers that are out there
That's what all those labs in the
that have this broken down. Excuse me.
They're collecting Russian DNA. They're collecting Chinese DNA so that we can target people by race.
My thoughts. Well, you can judge for yourself whether that comment right there by Rfk Jr., that clip right there was anything of anti-Semitic and or racist. What Congress doesn't surprise me anymore. I've lived on this earth long enough to know that Congress is shit. You have good people sprinkled in, but as an overall body, it's shit. It's garbage. It's trash. But when you look at it over a world stage, it's the best we've got. It's the best in the world, no matter its flaws. But when you have a hearing on anti-censorship, and the second he gets done introducing, or gets done being introduced, he is censored. And of course, they're calling a roll call vote, which I'm kind of really surprised that Jim Jordan actually did that instead of just dismissing the shit, from the get-go, saying, you know what, this is nonsense, sit down, shut up. All right, Rfk Jr., what do you got to say? That's how it should have went. But no, they went through procedure and protocol, so whatever. Now, I've seen the full context of what he meant in regards to how many hundreds of millions of dollars that were invested into this nonsense. Gain of function research and, Lord Fauci and Burke and, the Chinese coup out of Wuhan, they're all tied together. They are what they are. And it's all bullshit. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is what's like. Oh, one thing is that censorship is real. Orwell 1984 is real. And sadly, it's here in 2023. Like it, share it, leave comments on it, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.